So welcome back again. We were talking about evaporation, right? Evaporation method. So we discussed this diagram. You can see in this diagram we have got substrate here at the top. Evaporation. This is going to be filament. Okay, we have evaporation filament on the top. You can put our the source material which can be evaporated. The vapors will be transported here, and this is the vacuum chamber. You must have seen because we have got this thermal evaporation system in our center. If you want to see that, those who have not seen it, I will arrange your visit to this particular instrument. Okay, I will ask Gajanan to demonstrate you, show you how this is going to function, so that you will be able to understand properly. Okay, so the substrate can be placed and heated as desired, like this is substrate. Okay, and of course, like since this is in this zone, this entire zone is going to be heated. Okay, and the necessary vapor pressure of the source material can be generated by simply heating the source as per requirement of the concentration of the growth phases in the gas phase. So depending on that, like depending on the temperature of the material, temperature of the source rather, it will decide how many spaces are going to be evaporated and how many spaces are going to be reached to the substrate. The vapor pressure of an element can be estimated from the equilibrium pressure. Okay, and this is going to be the formula for that, right? So the log of PV is equal to the ratio of delta H to RT plus C. What is delta H? Delta H is the molar heat of evaporation. R is the gas constant, T is the temperature, and C is a constant. The rate of evaporation is given by this particular equation. So it means this, you can see the molar heat evaporation. It means the heat and ultimately the temperature of the source is going to be a crucial factor in this particular system, because all the parameters are going to be dependent on temperature, and as a result of that, whatever spaces you want to deposit on substrate, it will be highly dependent on what temperature you are keeping. The precaution need to be taken for pyrolysis, decomposition, and the dissociation of the compound. Because here we don't want pyrolysis reaction to be taken place. We don't want decomposition of the material taking place, and we don't want dissociation to be taking place, right? As a result of that, the temperature need to be optimized in such a way that it will be away from these three particularly phenomena. The deposition of thin film by evaporation is carried out at very low pressure. Okay, it is almost 0.1 Pascal. It's very, very low. The molecules in the vapor phase do not collide with each other prior to the arrival at the gross surface, because the mean free path is very large as compared to the distance between the source and substrate. What is mean free path? You can see, even read this red line. Mean free path is average distance traveled by moving particle, such as atom or molecule, between successive impact which modify its direction. इसका मतलब क्या है कि ये दो जो सक्सेसिव इंपैक्ट होता है दो मॉलिक्यूल्स का, ओके, whatever distance they will be traveling for having successive impact, this is what we call as mean free path, right? And where here you can see here the molecules in the vapor phase do not collide with each other prior to the arrival of the gross surface, because mean free path is very large as compared to the distance between the source and substrate. It means that whatever distance you will be having, this distance we are talking about, whatever distance you will be having, this particular distance is going to be less as compared to the mean free path is going to be more than this distance. Therefore, there won't be any collision, because if collision happens, then again there will be deviation in the path, and as a result of that, it will be difficult to achieve the desired deposition and on the substrate. The transport of molecules from source to gross substrate is straightforward along the line of sight. It is usually straight. Therefore, the conformal coverage is relatively poor and it is difficult to obtain the uniform film over a large surface area. So what happens here, like since it the whatever the evaporate molecules are going to be evaporated from this, they are going to follow the straight trajectory as I mentioned earlier. Okay, and as a result of that, since they are following straight trajectory, if you are having more the amount of substrate, like one substrate here, one substrate here, then it would be very difficult to achieve the uniform deposition. If it is having only single substrate, if it is in the line of sight, then it can be easily achieved. But if you are keeping some substrate here and some substrate here, then it would be really difficult to achieve the uniform deposition. Or what you can do, the substrate holder can be moved in horizontal axis, like in back and forth, back and forth. If you can move that in back and forth in horizontal axis, then it is possible. Otherwise, it would be really challenging. To overcome this difficulty, multiple sources are used and the substrate is rotated. So either you can rotate the substrate, either back and forth will be really difficult. In most of the system, it can be rotated in circular manner, right? Number one. And number two, you can have multiple sources. Like you can see here, for example, um, so if there are, let us say, three substrate, so you can have three different sources here, so that they will be following straight line trajectory, and there won't be any issues of uniformity of the film. Or you need to rotate the substrate. If you are rotating substrate, then obviously after some times every substrate is going to get the evaporate materials, and you will be able to achieve the uniform deposition. Laser beams have been used to evaporate material. Like here, what if we are heating, we are using electrical heating. As far as we call it as thermal evaporation. Here we are using electrical heating. But if you are using laser, pulse laser beams are used where high power density is required. Like if you are having the pulse laser beam, so density of those pulses need to be very, very high. We need to have the high power density, right? This, if you are evaporating substrate by laser, the process is known as laser ablation. We have an article in the curriculum, laser ablation. So the system is going to be the same. Only difference is, like whatever evaporation we are doing here, we are using like electrical system to electrical heater rather. Here, in case of laser ablation, we are going to use laser beam to evaporate the source, and then the rest of the process is going to be the same. Okay. The composition of vapor can be controlled precisely using this technique. Laser ablation has been used for deposition of metal oxide in semiconductor film. So, as far as the composition of vapor is concerned, if you are having, like dopant and all that, it can be easily controlled by laser ablation. Whereas it is not that much easy to control it by using the simple evaporation method. Okay, and therefore laser ablation is being used for deposition of metal oxide in the semiconductor fields. These are different evaporation system requirement. Like you need to have vacuum, because it is vacuum, that whatever the space you are having, that need to be, you need to create a vacuum. And you need 10 to the power minus 6 torr for medium quality films, and it can be accomplished in ultra high vacuum as well. Uh, like it would be 10 to the power minus 9 as well, right? So usually, but 10 to the power minus 6 is going to be enough. Cooling of water, like hearth place means, like hearth means what? It is a place where the fire is going to taking place. Okay, hearth means it is going to the place where the fire is going to taking place, like this. This place. This is what we call as hearth place, because this is a fireplace where the heating filament would be there, and it will heat the source. As a result of that, evaporation can be taken place. So here we need water cooling. You can see our system also. You can see how water cooling is maintained in our case, because whether it is thermal evaporation or any other evaporation system, you need to be cooled by uh, water cooling. Okay. you need thickness monitor as well, because in our system we have continuous thickness monitor, and it can be displayed at the output. Bell jar vacuum coating equipment, because this entire chamber is nothing but the vacuum coating equipment. Then you need mechanical setter. The evaporation rate is set by temperature of the source, but this cannot be turned on and off rapidly. A mechanical setter allows the evaporating flux to be rapidly modulated. You see, like we are heating material by some thermal heating. As a result of that, the material is going to be evaporated. Now, here in this case, it is very difficult to switch on and off as far as the evaporant flux is concerned. Evaporant flux cannot be switched on and off in case of thermal heater without having mechanical setup. Okay, because the reason for that is आपको बताया कि अगर कोई मटेरियल हम हीट करते तो ऑल ऑफ अ सडन उसको ठंडा हम कर नहीं सकते, राइट. 0-1 हो नहीं सकता कि like you can start evaporation or you can stop evaporation. No, like on off, that kind of on and off is not at all feasible, possible rather, and therefore you can have the mechanical setter in between. So once it is open, it means evaporant will reach to the substrate. Once it is closed, evaporant are not going to reach the substrate. And then we need electrical power, either high current or high voltage, typically 1 to 10 kilowatt power. Now, this is in general evaporation I told you. As far as the evaporation is concerned, there are two different methods: thermal evaporation and E-beam evaporation. Thermal, like whatever we have discussed, it is basically thermal evaporation. But I'm going to tell you the important parameters, like important features of thermal evaporator. The system is going to say whatever system I have shown you. This is thermal evaporation system only. Only some of the critical features of thermal evaporation I'm going to tell you now. Like it is very simple, robust, and widespread use. Because relatively thermal evaporation is going to be very easy, and it's going to be very tough, rough and tough. Robust means it's very rough and tough, and it is being widely used across the country. Can only achieve temperature of about 1800 degrees Celsius. Only thing is that you cannot go beyond 1800 degrees Celsius approximately. But if you are having material whose melting point, evaporation point, not melt, literally you will be melting, because if you want to evaporate, you need to melt it, right? Whose melting point is more than 800 degrees Celsius, then thermal evaporation is not going to serve the purpose. Use of tungsten, then the tantalum and molybdenum are being used as a heating evaporation sources. I was talking about the heating filament. So which material is being used for heating filament? Tungsten, tantalum, and molybdenum. So these are the three material which are being used for for heating the sources. Typical filament current are going to be like 200 to 300 amperes. Exposes substrate to visible and IR radiation. The substrate can be exposed to visible as well as IR radiation. Typical deposition rate as far as thermal evaporation is concerned is around 1 to 20 angstrom per second. Okay, it's not going to be very good, but it is not bad. Okay, and commonly evaporate materials, like these are the materials which can be evaporated by using thermal evaporation, like gold, silver, aluminum, and so on and so forth. So we are using gold, silver, even copper as well. So these are the common material which we are using in our laboratory for evaporation. And these are the resistance heated evaporation sources. These are the like wire hairpin, foil dimple boat, wire helix, wire basket. These are the different resistance heated evaporation sources, because we need evaporation sources, right? So these are the probable evaporation sources which are being used in the thermal evaporation. Now next is going to be E-beam evaporation. We have both the system available in our laboratory, thermal evaporation as well as E-beam evaporation, and I will advise you to see that, because it is good to see like what kind of facilities we are having in our laboratory, right? E-beam evaporation is more complex but extremely versatile. So relatively it is more complex, but it is extremely versatile. It can achieve temperature in excess of 3000 degrees Celsius. You can see. Whereas in case of thermal evaporation, you cannot go beyond 1800. Whereas in case of thermal EV evaporation, you can go beyond 3000. It means the material which cannot be evaporated by using thermal evaporation system can be evaporated by using EV evaporation system. Use evaporation cones or crucible in copper hearth. So like whatever hearth here we are using, that is made up of copper basically. We can call it as a cones or crucible. Crucible means a kind of a place where which is going to be fired up, and we are going to keep our like evaporant material there, source material there. Typically emission voltage is going to be 8 to 10 kilovolt, whereas in case of thermal we require 1 to 2. Here we need 8 to 10 kilovolt, so very huge power supply needed. Exposes substrates to a secondary electron radiation as well. X-rays can also be generated by high voltage electron beam. If you are having very high voltage electron beam, then X-rays also can be generated. Typical deposition rate is 100 to 1000 angstrom per second. So you can see it is very fast, 10 to 100 angstrom per second. And common evaporated materials, these are the materials which are being used for as a evaporated material as far as the EV evaporation is concerned. And this is the machine. This is the schematic of the machine, EV evaporation machine. You can see here, these are this is what we call as hearth, right? Means fireplace. Hearth means a fireplace, a kind of place where the evaporated material can be kept. Now, whenever we are talking about thermal evaporation, we are going to heat this crucible. As a result of that, this material is going to be evaporated and is going to be deposited on the substrate. But now, in case of E-beam, we are going to use electron beam for evaporating this source. We are going to use electron beam. And this beam, you can see, this is the cathode filament where the beam is going to be generated. But this beam is going to have the bent up to 70 degree. This beam is going to have bent up to 70 degree. This is how it is happening, right? So this is the beam is getting bent, and at what is the degree? 270 degree. As a result of that, and this is going to be rotated. This is going to be rotated. So you can have multiple hearth. You can have multiple hearth in which the material can be placed, evaporated material can be placed, and at a time you can have the different crucible, like maybe like 3-4 crucible, and the same electron beam will be you can see this is like the bent electron beam is going to come, and this can be rotated. This crucible can be rotated like this. Okay, now again, like since we are going to generate very huge temperature, you need the circulating water, because water cooling is essential here, is mandatory. Okay, then and then only he will be able to achieve the results. Otherwise, it is going to be very difficult. You can have blast. Now, let me tell you more about the E-beam. Like 270 degree bent beam electron gun is most preferred. There are different, like bent, which is being used in case of E-beam, but 270 degree is more preferred electron gun. More preferred bent of the electron beam. Filament, why? What is the reason? Reason is filament is out of direct exposure from the exponent flux. You can see here is your filament, here is your filament, and this is your flux. तो इसके इर्द गिर्द भी नहीं रहेगा, तो क्या होगा ना, आपका फिलामेंट कंटेमिनेशन से आप बचा पाओगे, because we are bending because this is the beam we are getting, electron beam, but we are bending that beam, so we can keep wonderful isolation from the crucible and the electron beam. That will help us to like protect our heating filament, right? That is one of the advantage. Magnetic field can be used for beam focusing. Magnetic field can also be used for beam positioning. Additional lateral magnetic field can be used to produce the X-ray. Now, as far as this magnetic field is concerned, this is being used for like focusing, and as well as lateral as well as vertical movement. Like whatever lateral whatever vertical moment you want to have, this magnetic field is going to be like this. As far as bend is concerned, this magnetic field is responsible for bend as well as lateral movement of electron beam as well. So this is the advantage of bending the beam by 70 degrees. Now, sweeping or rastering of the evaporant sources is useful. Why? Because we are going to sweep the, the evaporant source. Why? It allows larger evaporant surface area for, higher deposition rate, allows initial charge to be soaked on preheated, allow evaporant source to be more fully utilized. So, we are going to sweep this. We are going to sweep this. Like, what happens? Like, you are not going to have a single crucible. There will be multiple crucible available, and as a result of that, you will be like minimizing the wastage as well as the deposition rate can be better. So there are some advantages. Multiple pocket rotary hearth is also preferred. There would be more than one packet. Allows sequential deposition of layers with single pump down. Allows larger evaporation sources to be used. So sometimes what happens, there can be let us say 5 different crucibles. So you can keep this source fixed, and if you want to deposit like 5 layers, forget about 5 layers. Let us say you want to deposit 3 layers. So you can have the 3 packets, 3 crucibles, right? One is, let us say, for gold, chromium, and aluminum. So first of all, allow here a gold crucible, deposit gold, and then rotate this and have the chromium, allow chromium to evaporate, deposit another layer, and then you can keep on rotating and you can deposit material structure as per your requirement. And this is the typical like machine, the photograph of machine which we are having. This is box coater. This is the power supply. This is e-beam power supply, because as I told you, we need very huge power supply for electron beam, right? So this is electron beam power supply, and this is the vacuum chamber I was talking about. This is the basically chamber. Here at the bottom, you will be having the source to be evaporated, and at the top there will be a place for substrate. Once you create, because first of all you can load your substrate and source and close the chamber and then create the vacuum. Once the vacuum is created, then this is the electronics control system. This is the control system. So you can here there are different switches. This is this is the display, and depending on like you can set the parameters here, and once the parameters are set, once you switch on the system, then you don't need to do anything. You need to sit idle. Everything is going to be done by the machine only. You cannot open this chamber in between. Once you stop the system, here like if you open this, you will see the water cooling, everything need to be done very systematically. Okay, so this is about the evaporation. Like thermally, the evaporation by thermal evaporation and e-beam evaporation. Now the physical vapor deposition, there are two. One is evaporation, other is sputtering. Okay, sputtering का मतलब क्या है कि material जो है you will be eroding material. You will be like like exposing your material to high energy beam, high energy molecule or high energy atoms, and that will be responsible for dislodging one or other atom from the surface, and it is going to reach to the target. What is sputtering basically? When a solid surface is bombarded with an energetic particle, the surface is eroded and surface atoms are removed due to collision between the surface atom and energetic particle. This phenomena is named as sputtering. It means, let us say, if this is the substrate. This is the substrate. Okay. Now I would like to remove some of the atoms from this. Sputtering means क्या है कि यहाँ से कुछ atoms dislodge करे, निकाले, खरड़ कर निकले. Okay, so you need high energetic particles. Like whenever the high energy, when this source material is going to be bombarded with high energetic particle, because of the collision, one or two atoms are going to be dislodge, and those atoms are going to be deposited on the substrate. That is nothing but sputtering. Sputtering was discovered more than 30 years ago by Grove. So like more than 30 years ago it was discovered, and the name of the scientist is Grove. Nowadays sputtering is being widely used to thin film deposition as well as to surface cleaning and etching. So there are two different applications of sputtering. Number one is you can use sputtering for the thin deposition of the desired material. Other is surface cleaning. Because if you really, like for example, you have some material and which has got some unwanted layer, right? That unwanted layer can be sputtered out, can be removed. Sputtering means removing by the high energetic particles, right? So this is also so these are the two applications, right? So sputtering is being used either for deposition or removing. We can call it as etching or cleaning. The layer can be removed, right? Let me tell you the mechanism. What kind of mechanism we are having in the sputtering? The interaction of ion, like for that purpose we need to discuss what are the probable interactions which we can have when the energetic ions is going to be bombarded with the surface. So whenever we are having interaction of ions with surface, there are 5 possibilities. Okay, what are those? When the surface of solid, that is target, is bombarded with ions, several interaction of ions with the surface are expected. Okay, so target, we can call it as target. Okay, because why it is target? Because this is the material which we want to we want to clean, we want to etch, or we want some atoms to be dislodged. Okay, therefore this is going to be your target material. The incident ion are reflected. So whenever the incident ion is like exposed to this targeted material, they are going to be reflected. Okay, number one is reflection. Number two, the impact of ion causes the target to eject secondary electrons. So impact of ion will cause the target to eject the secondary electrons. Third possibility, ions are buried in the subject target. So ions are going to be buried. This is what we call as implantation. We call it as an ion implantation. वो जो है ना वो बाहर निकलेंगे नहीं. Fourth is going to be ion impact causes some rearrangement in the target material. So whenever the material is going to be buried, obviously there will be some rearrangement in the target material. And last is going to be ion impact set up a series of collision. Whenever the ion is going to be heated on the surface, there will be series of collision between atoms of the target, possibly heading to the ejection of one of these atoms. This phenomena is nothing but the sputtering. So whenever this energetic particles is going to hit the surface, there will be series of collision taking place, and most likely one or two atoms are going to be dislodged from the target. This dislodging is nothing but the sputtering, and those dislodged atoms we are going to collect on the substrate, and this is how we can deposit the material. Okay, so this is the basic. I'm going to explain the same thing by using this diagram now. You can see here now. This is your target. This is your target material. This is the energetic ion, particle or energetic ion, incident ion, right? So whenever this energetic particle hit the surface, whenever this energetic particle hit the surface, so first possibility is going to be reflected. It's going to reflect. Okay, it's going to reflect. Nothing is going to happen. It's going to only reflect. Simple reflection. Second possibility, whenever it is going to hit, there will be secondary emission of electrons. Secondary electron. There will be emission of secondary electrons. This is second possibility. Third possibility is going to, they are going to bury it into the substrate, in the target. Sorry, मतलब वो बाहर आएंगे नहीं. They are going to be buried inside the surface, and as a result of that, whenever they are going to bury it, there will be changes in the internal arrangement of the material, because because you have got foreign element inside it, right? As a result of that, there would be changes. And the last possibility is going to be they are going to have a series of collision. They are going to have series of collision with the target atoms. As a result of that, there will be one or two atoms sputtered. You can dislodging. Okay, nikalna, right? This is what you call as sputtered atoms. These sputtered atoms are going to be collected on the substrate, and as a result of that, we can have the deposition. So इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? एक तो हम क्या करेंगे? लीचिंग करेंगे, या तो आइटम को डिसलॉन्च करके उसको डिपॉजिट करेंगे किसी और सबस्टेट पे. सो इट मींस दैट स्पटरिंग कैन बी यूज्ड टू ईच for etching the material, or it can use for deposition of material as well. This is the unique system which can be used for dual purpose. Sputtering refers to the process in which atoms are dislodged from the surface of a solid due to momentum exchange associated with the collision involving high energy ions. तो जो मोमेंटम एक्सचेंज होगा, जो हाई एनर्जी आयंस यहाँ पर जब बम्बार्ड करेगा, ये हाई एनर्जी आयन जब बम्बार्ड करेगा ये वाला, इसके साथ तो क्या होगा? देयर विल बी एक्सचेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम. दिस एक्सचेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम विल बी रिस्पांसिबल फॉर डिसलॉजिंग वन और टू एटम्स. Exchange of momentum will be responsible for dislodging one or two atoms, and this is what you call as sputtering. This process is widely being used for the deposition of variety of thin films that finds application in semiconductor technology. So sputtering is being widely used. Unfortunately, we don't have sputtering system available in our laboratory, but the sputtering is being used very widely for the application in semiconductor technology in particular. I'm going to explain you this. You can see here there are three different figures. Now figure A has argon ions, neutral argon ions, right? And then what we need to do is we need to, like, this is okay, let me explain this. In figure A, source and substrate contain a partially evacuated chamber. The pressure is approximately 100 millidor, containing argon atoms. So we have got neutral argon atoms here, which is partially evacuated. Okay, this is first figure. Then if the source is negative potential with respect to the substrate, the plasma consisting positively charged ions and electrons may be created between the source and substrate. तो क्या होगा यहाँ पर? So you need to ionize this. So this is like, this is whenever you are having ionization taking place, this is argon atoms. Okay, this is argon atoms. So you need to do the ionization. So ionization can be done by many means, either electrical or stimulation of some gas. As a result of that, there will be separation of charges. So here you have argon atom neutral. Then once you do the ionization, you will be having the argon ions and argon cations, right? It means like the positively charged and negatively charged argon ions. Now if the source, which is called as cathode, and this is substrate, if this is negative, what will happen? The positively charged, if we keep this as negative, the positively charged argon ions are going to attract towards the cathode, and negative are going to attract towards the anode. Okay, but here we are not going to discuss that. So these positive are going to attract by the cathode, right? So the velocity is going to be very high. As a result of that, what will happen? So when these positive ion is going to bombard on the source, there will be dislodging of some atoms from the source material. These atoms are going to be deposited on the substrate. Okay, so dislodging of some atoms from the source, because this source material, and it is going to be deposited on the substrate. So this is what it is going to happen in sputtering deposition process, right? So the positively charged argon ions will move towards the source. As a result, surface will be dislodged. Surface will dislodge the atoms. I mean, this surface will dislodge some of the atoms because they are going to be very high velocity, with high energy and high velocity. And the atoms will carry it to the substrate because the transfer momentum, as a result of that, thin film is formed on the substrate because of transfer momentum. Because क्या होगा ना, यहाँ पर हम hit करेंगे, as a result of this, atoms are going to be dislodged, and because of the transfer of momentum, this positively charged argon ions with that of the surface atoms, these atoms are going to be bounced and they are going to be attracted towards the cathode. Okay, not the cathode, to substrate, and the thin layer is going to be deposited on the substrate. The sputtering process is characterized by sputter yield. What is yield? Ejected atoms per molecule divided by incident ion. Ejected atoms per molecule. How many atoms are going to be ejected for each and every molecules, right? Per incident ion. Okay, so that is going to be a sputter yield, and it is a measure of efficiency of sputtering. This is what we call as efficiency. So S, that is the sputter yield or efficiency values, are typically in the range of 0.01 to 4 and increase with the mass of the metal and energy of the sputtering gas. So whatever the sputtering gas you will be using, depending on that, because sputtering gas, because it varies from, if it is argon, it varies from 1 to 1, because each atom will have a different kind of momentum of their, each gas will have its own momentum to that molecule, and therefore yield is going to be dependent on that aspect. But typically it is 0.01 to 4, usually this sputtering yield. Sputter yield depends on these 4 factors. The energy of incident ion, this is very important. The second, masses of the ions and the target atom, because what the masses is like ion as well as target atom. Third one is binding energy of the atom in solid, and fourth one is the incident angle. Incident angle is also very important. ऐसे जा रहा है, that is very important. If you look at this angle of incidence versus sputtering yield, you can see like it is going to be maximum here. This is, if this is pi by 2, pi by 2 means 90. So for 90 it is going to be 0. If it is exactly straight, it is going to be 0. It need to be a little bent. You can see here. If it is like, if it is coming exactly straight, I will show this diagram. Yes, you can see if it is coming in this direction 90 degree, then it's going to be 0. Yield is going to be 0. It needs a little bend, so that it can be maximum. You can see it is maximum at this position. So there are certain advantages. Element, alloys, and compounds can be sputtered and deposited. The sputtering target provides stable and long-lived vaporization source. In some configuration, reactive deposition can also be possible. Source and substrate can be spaced close together, and the sputter deposition chamber can have a small volume. It means like you can have very small volume, small chamber can be possible, alloys can be sputter, and the target atom, target and source can be kept very close. So this is all about the sputtering. There are certain disadvantages as well. Sputtering rates is going to be terminated after 1 minute. You have to join again. So there are certain disadvantages. Sputtering rates are low compared to those that can be attained by thermal evaporation. Thermal evaporation is always better than this. Sputtering targets are often expensive. Most of the energy incident on the target becomes heat, and which must be removed. So that must be that is why water cooling is very, very important. And reactive sputter deposition, the gas composition must be carefully controlled to prevent the poisoning of